All righty, welcome to another podcast of The Way We Do It. And I'm Andre and coming to you from California. And I'm really excited about our conversation tonight because I think this is what it's all about in the world of entertainment and especially the world of stand-up comedians. So as you can see, the topic for today is uh, comedian Earthquake gets a sitcom on Fox. So this has how can you tell this is legitimate? Well, insider trade publications, they're in Hollywood. Two of the bigger ones, Variety and the Hollywood Reporter, both announced, I think, on June 30th, which was my mom's birthday. Uh, this announcement uh, with Earthquake getting his own sitcom. And, we talked about support, and I just wanted to kind of throw out to you that this could be because everything is in waves in entertainment, just like in movies, there's monster movies and there's sci-fi movies, and then you go back, you fall in love with the dramas and the romances, and it's all cycles, right? And so I think just because of the temperature in the world and especially in America, I think we need laughter again. People are just getting a little too wired, and we need to bring that temperature down. And I just want to just kind of pose the question, or just kind of throw it out there that maybe this is that for those of you who are, and I just call it. And I use this show because it's just such a pivotal show in concept, the Martin Show, right? So is this the now resetting of the stand-up comedian driving a sitcom again? So you had, and I wrote down there's just a ton of them, but you had Jamie Foxx, you had the Martin Show, D.L. Hughley had a show, Bernie Mac, Mark Curry, the Wayans, uh, Damon, his two younger brothers, and who else is on here? Steve Harvey. So you're getting Monique. So are we starting that process again? And Fox has a strong track record with a lot of these black sitcoms. So just the beginning of that. And this is a kind of way to let the industry know what you're interested in. If you've been seeing a lot of stuff out there that you're not particularly caring for, and you want something fresh and new, then you support a project like this, right? And the cool thing about this, if you read it in the trade, that not only is he doing the show, he's executive producing it, and the production company he's going with to help him on his side, because he's doing it on Fox. So it's going to be uh, it's going to air on Fox and it's going to go through Fox Studios. But Bill Burr, and for those of you who are into comedy, we love Bill Burr. Bill Burr is a true stand-up comedian. So Bill Burr will be producing the Earthquake show, which he says it's called Earthquake, which okay, and it's about his life, Earthquake's life. I believe Earthquake was born in D.C., but I think he makes Atlanta his home. So you're gonna have a great Southern flair to his show, because comics, when they talk about their life, they talk about their life. And so I have a couple of clips because in the articles they were mentioning a lot of the shows that he did, to kind of uh, build into him getting a sitcom, but they've missed one show that Earthquake did, and I wonder which show did they miss? The show that he actually did sketches on, The Way We Do It. So I have receipts. So I pulled two clips. If you go to my YouTube channel, TWWDITV, The Way We Do It TV, I've uploaded two seasons. There's a full episodes up there, and there's a couple of clips that I'm only showing you. I'll be showing you 2 clips in this particular podcast, but you can see other clips that he did with us. And so this is why you got to have your stuff. And so I'm going to share with you now the missing component to his body of work that I think is extremely important. And what I would just say, even before I start anything, is Earthquake made the decision to do my show, right? And so you got to give it to him for taking chances and doing things, because now when I show you these clips, he's already been in that sketch world, and sitcoms and sketch comedies it's the same thing, except a sitcom is just a little bit longer. They're all sketches, right? It's not stand up, and you'll see his comedic timing on the sketches are great. And so I hope he's able to keep that kind of flair, because we just don't want to get recycled 1970s sitcoms, and we don't want Martin back, because Martin did what Martin did, and so Earthquake should be doing what Earthquake did with his particular kind of spin on it. But I digress, because I did want to go back to Bill Burr and why I think that's really an important strategic move to do, because what that does is Bill Burr, as a stand-up comedian as well, will understand. Now, I wasn't a stand-up comedian, but I'm pro stand-up comedians. So I've always leaned, if you've ever listened to some of my other podcasts, I've always, and even when I talked about just building the way we do it as a sketch comedy show, I built it for stand-up comedians to be the drivers of the sketches and not writers, right? So I've always just thought that energy, I thought that certain formats and certain styles restrict stand-up comedians, and they never come off well. And a lot of times they get frustrated, and a lot of times they bail out of those shows that have a lot of that writing that, a writer's one person, stand-up comedian is another person. And a lot of times it just doesn't mesh. And so I wanted to give an opportunity where they have much more freedom to do what they did. So seeing him, and that's why I'm coming to you with this podcast, because seeing him team up with Bill Burr, who's a stand-up comedian, and again, why that's important is because Bill Burr gets Earthquake. So when they're rehearsing, they're doing their stuff, you got another person that has leverage and power in the show that's also going to be pro Earthquake. And why do I say that? Because, and you hear this from executive producers and talent who've done shows before on networks, you're going to get notes from the network, and then the network might not necessarily see what you see. And in the old days, they would call them the suits. The suits would come to the set, and it was just always this, they would a lot of times bumping heads, because they just wouldn't get along. And stand-up comedians are very rebellious. I think it might be still out there, the old documentary or interview of former comedians and just their frustrations doing what they needed to do, and a lot of times they just bump heads. So it's cool that you have someone in your camp that can also go into that room and also fight for, and again, it might not happen, but it normally does. It's always going to be creative differences from the artists and the network that airs, and it's an exchange. But you got to know when to fight and hold on to stuff. And like I was saying before, if you ever get a chance, I don't know if it's still out there, but Richard Pryor had I think there's only 4 episodes of the show that he did, and they did an interview, and how him and NBC just was kind of like going at it, because Richard Pryor is Richard Pryor. And stand-up comedians, they have a kind of a lane, and so you have some stand-up comedians who won't even do television because of that. They just rather do films, got a little more freedom to it, and then their stand-up has that as well. So, and then you guys kind of were called, even Dave Chappelle has some stuff with network. So it's kind of part of the course, but for a lot of them, it felt like for me, an outsider looking in, that they were the only one on their side of the fence fighting. So it was the stand-up comedian, the talent going against the network. In this case, you have two stand-up comedians, Earthquake and Bill Burr, on in the same team. If something like this happens, now you have an ally who gets you. And if you've ever seen Bill Burr in interview, he's very, articulate, stand-up comedian, but he's sharp in what he knows, and he commands respect for himself and his craft, and he's not afraid to go in there and do the right thing. So I like Bill Burr as a comedian, and even I like how he talks. So I think that's going to be a really cool thing for them to be able to pull off and do. And for us as fans, we got to support shows like this. And what I like, if you've never seen Earthquake's comedy before, please go online and check out his stuff. I've got some of his clips on my channel, but he's done he's done his own specials, and he's done it the right way. He is a true stand-up comedian. For any of those young people out here who want to get into the game and excel, and in this case now Earthquake is finally getting his shot at it. Earthquake, as the trades will say, I first met him on Comic View, hilarious. Then he did the Way We Do It, him and Ricky Smiley. I have a behind the scenes, a couple little clips. Hope he doesn't get mad at me. A couple little clips behind the scenes. He was hilarious as well too. So I'll throw them on my page as well too. So subscribe to the page and I'll send that stuff out. I do that periodically. I think I upload at least once or twice a week of clips, so you can just kind of see the talent. And then if you go back, you can see the long form stuff if you like. So I'm really excited about that. So I'm going to start off with, I'm going to show a clip, and this is one of our popular clips that we do. The comedian, Don't Worry About the Money, is an extremely talented comedian called Tommy Chun. He does a sketch, so it's a couple minutes, and let's kind of check it out. It comes from my library, so I don't have to, I don't have to worry about showing you what it is. But I want you to see, and I want the world to see where Earthquake committed to us to do sketches, and now he's in a position. So if they were like, well, maybe he needs to do a little something else, just to make sure. No, because we got the receipts. He did it with us, and as you're about to see, he was as hilarious as well. So let's jump into this first one.
Man, boy, don't do this to another brother, man. Oh, it's all good, but look here, I'm gonna take care of you now. Look here.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna take this all the way back. It's not a long clip. I don't know why it always.
Drink on that big player production, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. That's how you put on a show, big dog. Yeah, we had that thing crunk, boy. Yeah. We had that thing crunk like all outdoors, big player. Yeah, I'm glad you brought me down. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, boy. I'll bring it down. Yeah. Bring me down, man. Bring it down, boy. Woo, I'm not trying to say. Yeah, boy, man. Quake, that's how you do it. You shook them up, boy. Yeah, man. Boy,
let me just stop it here real quick, because if you know me, I kind of walk you through some things. So this is being shot in Burbank, California. This is shot in front of a live audience. I knew it was very important for comedians to have a live audience in front of them to feed. And Tommy Chun, this is a sketch environment that he continues to do. So Earthquake came on. Earthquake was involved in multiple sketches throughout the whole day. So I just want to kind of share with you, and it has that theater kind of approach. This is the first season of the way we did it. He came and did it our first season.
You shook him up like King Kong. Man, that's why they call me Earthquake. That's what I'm trying to say. Boy, I got these little shorties we got to get with after hour joint. Boy, they about to put the thing down on you. Yeah, we can do that. I'm down with that, but we got to handle business, man. I need, that's what I'm talking about, business. The money, I want to do shows with brothers, help my own people. Right, but right now, man, it's time for you to give my money.
You know, you was talking to me about, you know, brothers need to help brothers, and now I need you to pay me.
Oh, look here, player. Don't even worry about the money. Don't even worry about that. We got that. My boy Bookie and Cowboy and Pookie and Ray and Keyshawn and Devon.
I don't need to hear all them names, man. I need some Benjamins, some Lincolns, some Grants. Them the names I need you to call out, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't want no drugs. I want my money, brother. Come on, man. You're a black man. Boy, don't do this to another brother, man.
Oh, it's all good, but look here. I'm going to take care of you now. Look here. Cause we're going to get you some, you hungry? You hungry? You eat. You like you eat.
Yeah, I eat, man, but I'd rather eat with my money. I eat a lot with my money in my pocket.
Hold on. You seem like you get a little out of hand. And I can throw you a little something.
And let me just stop it here real quick. It just to continue. Now, this sketch is done live. This isn't like we shot this over and over and over to get this. And so this is that talent. Now, you have two comedians on the set, and they are timing each other, and they're feeding off the live audience when they're doing this. And so that's a skill that is you have to have that. And this is years and years of those two gentlemen out on the road doing their thing, then being able to feel it off of each other and do it in such a way that it's just so smooth. So I just want to kind of deconstruct the kind of talent that you're sitting up here, and why for me, I just, I like them to just go for it. And I think this kind of energy, if he's allowed to bring it to his sitcom, is just going to be crazy.
Like 1, 2, 3, about $500.
Oh, man, you owe me $15,000, man. I'm going to put that hat up your ass if you don't get my money, man.
Well, you know what, player? Let me holler at you.
Holler at these, man. Where my money at, man?
Look here.
Well, let me get your gold tooth.
My gold teeth? Oh, you can't take that. That's all I got. That's my gold teeth. My grandmama gave me them teeth, boy, because I was in prison, because we robbed this bank. I took that.
Look at all that, man. Where my money at,
man? Don't worry about the money. Come on, let me holler at you, player.
I don't want to talk to you,
okay,
man. You take me to get my money?
Look, I got this show.
How you take me to get my money?
Don't worry about the money. Drink on that.
Let me cut that off. I'm gonna show you another one that he did as well too. And so I think, let me move. Oops, why is this not behaving? There you go. And so we had enough of a set so that our first season we really tried to pull off it having a theater kind of feel, right? Like a small theater in front of a live audience. And, it was important for us to have entryways and exits. So it's recreating to the degree that we can, because I don't know if I told you before, but, I couldn't afford to do a full sitcom. So I decided to do sketches because I thought that was the next closest thing to sitcoms. And for me personally, I just think it's the gateway format for stand-up comedians. They do stand-up on the road, or they shoot their own specials. Typically now they're 1-hour specials. I think the sketch comedy format is the next progression for them, because then it introduces them to a more structured way of humor. Because you're doing sketches. We write these sketches, but these are real short page sketches. They go quick. And in my case, everything is shot live. So there's no seconds to it. So I had to make sure I have the kind of talent who could just move and keep it moving, fill in what they need to fill in and move it. And then to me, doing a sketch show, it is a nice gateway for them to transition into sitcoms and transition to films that they like. So it's to me that step that's missing, and that's why I'm being very aggressive in trying to and putting it back out there, that I want to bring the way we do it back as a sketch show out there in the marketplace for up and coming talent to showcase those skills, and then the industry and people can see that, just like you kind of saw what Earthquake was doing there. And kind of move on, and it's a great learning experience for them. It kind of gives them that kind of feel. I've seen them. It just depends on, a lot of them will maybe even do their sort of like a version of this in their stand-up shows, but there's nothing like making sure it's a clean format that's separate from a stand-up show, right? So you do your stand-up show in front of a theater audience, and it's kind of hard to, to put props up on the stage. That's a tough call because it's not intimate, right? And they do theaters, large theaters, because those are revenue generators for them as well. So you have to be just very careful with that. A lot of stand-up comedians don't necessarily do plays. Those are funny actors who tend to do plays. So a sketch show is a perfect place, because if they were to do a sitcom and you do a sitcom in front of a live audience, it's going to look like that, right? I don't know if you ever get a chance to watch a TV show in operation with an audience. That's what it looks like. The sets are right in front of an audience. The cameras are in front of the set, and maybe, I don't know, 15 feet from the end of the set where the first people are sitting watching the show, so that that the talent on set can see them and they're getting that energy from them. And I just think doing sketches is a great way to kind of move that forward. So let me go into the second one that he did for us. And which one was this? This is okay. So this is he did the radio show for us. So let me pull up the radio show.
What? Lennox Lewis ass, Harry. And I'm mad ass.
Oh, let me make sure I'm totally.
And welcome to Bo Jones. I'm irritated about the whoop Lennox Lewis ass, Harry. And I'm mad ass Maggie, and the subject for today is badass kids.
Now, I just want to stop there. That comedian, the first one, is Belinda Foster, and then you guys also know Leslie Jones. Belinda Foster, I'm going to find some clips. When she came to us, she plays the guitar, and she does this really hilarious Southern country kind of version with this other comedian that's from California. His name is Speedy. I'm gonna find. I don't know. That one's a little edgy. I'm not sure if I can show you that one, but I'll go ahead and I'll go back and look at it. But they do this little radio show, and I just wanted to make sure I introduced. And they're all three comedians, right? So I just want to introduce them before I started.
Expert on the panel today is Earthquake. Yeah, what's up,
Irritated, get her some medicine, but not anything cool.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get this started early. First caller.
Hi, my name is Bammer, and I'm from Columbia, South Carolina. Hey there, Mad Maggie and Irritated Irene. I got three of the most terrible kids you ever want to imagine. My problem is every time I try to discipline them children, they try to threaten, call the Child Protective Service on me. What I should do?
Well,
let me just stop it there real quick and continue on. But I just wanted to, each time I show clips in my podcast, I like to explain what you're seeing and like why you're seeing heads like that, right? Because again, I wanted to do two things with that. Number one, to let the television audience see how close the TV audience is that they're feeding. So this is a very intimate kind of a thing. So again, for me, dealing with stand-up comedians, I know that they feed off of a crowd. I don't care if it's 10 people, 200 people. The fact that you have it, and any future producers, when you're fighting for your budgets to do your shows, fight for a live audience, especially when you're dealing with stand-up comedians, right? Because that's what they're used to when they're out on the road. That's what gets them going. And think about it. When a stand-up comedian is doing their thing on the road, they're more than likely not going to be making a lot of mistakes because they're so conditioned in entertaining a live audience and making that thing flow, right? So now I'm taking them off the road. I'm putting them in a building with lights and cameras, and there could be some hesitation there. So I wanted to kind of bring something back to them that they're comfortable with when they're on the road, which is like automatic in their brain. if you've ever been around comedians, some of y'all going to college and high school with them now. As soon as they get an audience, man, they just turn on. So that's a producer thing that I just want to share with you when you're doing it. Having stand-up comedians doing something cold is, to me personally, that's pretty cruel, right? Because you want them at their best, and they're at their best feeding off an audience.
First of all, what I think is hard to call the police on you with your foot up their ass. Just snatch the phone off. It's hard to call for help when you go, put that foot up there. That's what I do.
You can't talk with a hurt jaw.
I know that's right. What you think, irritated?
It's hard to talk with the receiver up your ass. That's it.
Yeah, that's good. Tell them connect.
Next caller.
This is Bernice Jenkins. I'm trying to call the radio show with Eileen, the nervous nanny.
No, she didn't.
Little trivia question. I'm gonna roll that back, and I wonder if you can guess who this comedian is. That's on the voiceover.
Nervous nanny.
Let me go back a little further.
Nervous nanny.
Oh, here we go.
Next caller.
This is Bernice Jenkins. I'm trying to call the radio show with Eileen, the nervous nanny.
No, she didn't. Irritated Irene and mad-ass Maggie.
No, don't get no matter. Come on, man, your blood pressure going up, matter. Come on, irritated.
Go on.
I know it's
Sick
sick
of
of
irritated.
her eyes and stuff be twitching and stuff. Look at here, praise him. I'm 82 years old and still beautiful. Praise God. Now I got 9 kids, all of them grown, except for my oldest boy, Melvin, he about 40. And my other boy is 64. My problem is they all still live with me. For Bernice to have, her male company over, and stuff. I think I'm not pregnant because I ain't seen my period in about
No, it's good. You got to do what my mother did to me. Fake like you're going to the store and just move. My mother went to get a loaf of bread and she ain't never come back. She took all her valuable things and said she just left us. That's what you should do.
Hold on, somebody on the other end. I got to get on the line.
That's a radio station. Get your own self. We ain't got no time to be waiting on you. You know she old.
Get on my nerves.
Hello?
Yo, we
Hello?
really...
Hello?
Hello?
Hang on the damn phone, yo.
Get off this damn phone.
I'll tell you something, old woman.
You made me somebody keep it.
Hello?
You keep playing on that phone, you're going to get put out your nursing
Hello? Y'all
home.
better get out this phone before I done told
You're going to
y'all.
get put out your nursing home. I'm going to report you.
Hello?
Yeah, look, you better leave them your men alone. You're going to lose your Social Security check. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You ought to be trying to go to heaven. Baking some cookies or something.
And tell you too.
Still out here, still messing around. It's a shame.
Yo, Earthquake,
I'm back. I'm back.
Yo, we ready for this whole city. You know this, all right?
You ain't going to die on this phone.
Hello?
Trying to get a lawsuit.
Hello?
Talk about it. We're out of control. The show is over. This is the whole show.
So there you have it, right? So that's one take, that's live, and that's how the way we do it. That's how we do it, right? So again, my experience with comedians is the first time they do it is the funniest, and so our staff and our crew is prepped to shoot it as if it was live, and I have all the faith and trust in the comics to pull it off, and they do. And in that case, that voiceover that said Bernice Jenkins, you know who that is, right? So that's Ricky Smiley. Ricky Smiley doing the voiceover. So that gives you another example of how the team of comedians help each other, right, and walk through this, because I just wanted to make sure that they knew it was theirs. And so that, knowing the timing of on the voiceover, knowing the timing to chime in. So in that instance, because I think the first person was on voiceover, he's not a comedian, but he's one of our but he's one of our talents. But Ricky, Belinda, Earthquake, and Leslie, all four stand-up comedians, right? So they know what they're doing. They know how to jockey in timing, and then they're doing that in front of a crowd, which could start clapping at any moment or not clapping. Right, the worst thing ever for an audience. You got to make them laugh, right? So we would think of that as a lot of pressure, but this is what they do when they go on the road. So this is why it works so well, and I hope that, and it's kind of interesting. You noticed that he said his mother went away. Now, the one thing you got to understand about a lot of stand-up comedians, a lot of what they say about their own life is actually true, and they make it funny. And so you're laughing about it. It's like a comedian be like, "Yeah, I was on a plane. I forgot to take the gun out of my bag, and I got arrested." And you're like, "We're laughing, oh man, that's crazy." And it actually happened to that comedian, right? So I'm not saying this happened. I'm not saying this about his mama that she left, but I'm just saying, anytime a stand-up comedian goes into a family mode in their conversation, in their presentation of their jokes and their storylines, I would probably say 80% of that stuff is something happened. I was watching a comedian, his name is Sadiq, out of Houston. And his whole routine that I saw like yesterday was him in prison. And you're like, so if you didn't know anything about it, you're like, oh, this comedy, she's doing this great prison jokes, being in line, and and the roommates and all that. He was actually in prison. So he's reenacting those moments in prison, and then because he's a comic, he's adding some spice to it for us to laugh. But that's his real life. So I'm excited for Earthquake. I think Bill Barr will be the kind of person that's important to make sure that, because the way that the press read is that it's going to be based on his life. So I know at least a part of Earthquake's life was in Washington, D.C., Chocolate City. And I don't know if it just, sitcoms, it's kind of interesting. It just kind of depends on its setting, because normally it's set somewhere. Like and hit me up, but I think Martin's show was that set in Baltimore? I think that was in Baltimore with his little radio station. So it'll be interesting to see where Earthquake sets his sitcom, whether that's in Washington, D.C., or I believe his comedic base he's coming out of Atlanta. So he's it's either Atlanta based or DC based. Either one of those. I don't think I've seen, and I'm not putting in. I'm just putting it out just as someone who's excited about it. But I think the last time I've ever saw something that came out of Washington, D.C. as a sitcom was 227. So it'd be kind of cool if he did it from the nation's capital, because it's just a different look. But I'm not knocking it off if he does it in Atlanta. But that would be interesting to me, because I kind of like the different settings. Mr. Cooper was in the Bay Area. They kind of, things kind of moved around a lot. I think the Jamie Foxx show was a hotel, but I think that hotel was in Hollywood or the Fresh Prince was in Bel Air and stuff like that. But I like when we can kind of bring different kinds of cities in. That would be kind of funny. His interpretation of Chocolate City. And Bill Burr, I think he's from Boston as well too. So this is a quick one that I wanted to do for you guys, because I just really wanted to share news so that you guys know, up and coming, how we support getting the kinds of stuff that we want on television. Is the earlier you know about it. So if you want to hit up Earthquake's Instagram page, or Fox's Instagram page, whatever, saying you're really excited about seeing this sitcom. This is the kind of good information, non-hater information that you can put out if you want something to see something different. And I'm always a big proponent of, I don't really judge stuff that's already out there. I just like to add to what's already out there. So if there's some stuff out there, you're like, I'm getting really excited. This is just too much of that. Well, then add something else, because what you like, someone else might not like. And so in this case, I think it's kind of cool. And that's what I'm looking at, because I can't really think of anything on television that a Black comedian is driving the sitcom. I think Earthquake will be the resurgence, the renaissance of that. And it shouldn't be just him. I mean, just off the top of my head, I mean, you got Lavelle Crawford out there, you got Bruce out there, you got Arnest J out there. You got some folks who put in the work. And I just think it just adds to a setup. And, all of these streaming services, I've seen a lot of re-airing of old stuff. You can still, I'm not knocking it because I still like it, but Sanford's Son is still on air. I think a little bit higher rotation than I would like it to be, because I think people like Earthquake, there's the new Red Foxes out there somewhere. We just gotta, the industry's getting kind of lazy on like, just keep pulling stuff off our shelf and just recycling it. Because yes, it is harder to develop new talent, to give people chances and stuff. Yes, but that's what we're in the business of doing. People, you're getting big money to be a producer, and you want fresh stuff. You can't cheat it. You just can't keep recycling everybody else's stuff. There's a couple of movies that came out recently, and people are like, this is, they're going to like the next one. They ain't like the first one. And you guys are kind of showing up, and you're speaking with your eyeballs now. You just tuning it out. And at the movie theaters, when something bombs at the movie theater, you really need to start thinking about what you need to do. One of my film passions is horror movies, and some horror people that are getting outside of that box of the die-hard horror fans. What we like, we like new stuff. We like a certain kind of scenarios. It's entertainment for us, and send us somewhere a little different. Give people shots, and now you're kind of inching up. And the reason why I like low budget horror as well, from a producer standpoint, is that it's a great place to bring new talent, give new talent a shot. We always think of the A-listers, but A-listers weren't always A-listers. They had to start somewhere, right? Brad Pitt had his first start somewhere, right? Denzel had his first start somewhere. So we've got to start to add, how do we get these young people, give them opportunities, and let Gen Z see themselves on TV. So thanks for sticking in there with me. I'll constantly give you new ideas and things that are kind of popping up. I thought I wanted to make sure I brought this one out, because again, this kind of walks into the territory of Earthquake taking a chance on my show, doing some stuff. And when I saw out there in the press that they forgot about what he did for me, I felt, well, let me pull out the receipts and let me show you a couple of clips of what he did for me, so that people can't say, no, he didn't do that. No, yes, he did. He was hilarious. And it's this time. So I wish him and Bill the best for this. I think if you let them do their thing, just kind of how I am. I'm not gonna tell Fox how to do their business, but if you let stand-ups just do their thing, right? It's just like jazz artists, man. Just let them play If they want to turn their back on you, that's just their thing. Let the creative people do what they do, and trust me, they'll bring it back. So as you can kind of see, I'm very pro stand-up comedian. I think it helps all of us to bring the temperature down. Those are the artists that, at this time of a lot of madness and craziness, it's kind of cool to be able to go out and just get your laugh on, get a little something to drink, something to eat, and then go home and go to sleep, right? So, but we got to support them. So here's a perfect example. So I'm looking forward to seeing Earthquake on Fox at 8 o'clock or whatever it is, right? And hopefully this is the beginning of that, what I kind of call the Martinization, when the Martin show kind of just opened up the floodgates for that kind of thing. And I think history repeats itself. This might be the beginning of that new one, so that we could have some fun with it. So until I see you guys again, peace.